Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli. This is episode 148, I think, maybe 149. It'll be numbered, you'll know. I want to talk about population because I read an interesting article in the paper because I'm old and still read the paper. But I'll show you the article real quick. You can see it maybe. It's about population, and can you read that? I don't know. How coming population bust will change the world. All right. Okay. Let's start with some numbers, shall we? And they actually quoted these numbers in the paper as well. And I was pretty much right about them. Our planet has grown in population almost fivefold since 1900. There's a reason the planet is hurting, and we've also been industrialized since that time. And industrialization keeps going up because the economy is what counts, right? Well, like I've said in many past episodes, this is why we got to care about each other, not just about making money. We just got to care about getting fed and getting clothed and getting housed. We don't need to worry about all the other shit. And like I've also said in the past, we can also do all this and we can still have our cake and eat it too, pretty much. We just got to do it smarter. We can still have these pretty nice lifestyles that many of us enjoy. And to be honest, I think a lot of us, even more of us, could live at a first world level if we're just smart about it and don't use fossil fuels as much. But it was kind of funny because they were kind of ringing the alarm bell here, and it was kind of annoying me. It was a piece out of the New York Times, and it was printed in the Denver Post. I think last Sunday, so like 10 days ago or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't really matter when. But so the population in 1900 was 1.6 billion. In 2000, it was 6 billion. So it had already multiplied fourfold at that point almost. And now we're close to 8 billion, which will be fivefold. I think we're at 7.6 or something like that. But we're reproducing really fast. And there's a lot of reasons, obviously, for population explosion. The health of the family. Um, Back in the 1800s, people did have a lot of kids because they needed them as a commodity to help work the land, especially in the Western world. And now, a lot of people are still having that many kids going, not as much anymore, but a lot of people were still having those types of huge families in the 50s when maybe a couple wouldn't die. I know that's a dark thought, but that was really, I think that was part of the ball game back then, like 120, 150 years ago. I mean, go to a graveyard sometime. You will see that there are many, many babies that died at that time because fertility rates were horrific and medicine wasn't quite there yet. And a preemie baby was a death sentence. Now, not necessarily. So the article talked a lot about fertility rates and how they're going down in some parts of the world, especially in the Asian, what I'm going to call the Asian first world, which is most of Asia is a first world country, but there are obviously second and third world contingents to any country. But in Asia, I would consider, or like China, I would consider a lot of that third world because they just don't. They're all just feeding into a machine. They're very, very poor. Doesn't mean they don't have uh, a lot of luxuries that first world people enjoy, but they do also have a lot of things that first world people they have a lot of things they don't have a lot of things that first world people enjoy, in my opinion. Now, so they centered on Asia a lot, especially South Korea, where people they were just freaking out. I remember an article that came out years and years ago in the 90s when the Japanese were freaking out because they thought by the year 3000 there would be no more Japanese left. Some scientists said, hey, these are our death rates, these are our birth rates. In 1,000 years, there will be no more Japanese people. To which I say, who gives a shit? I mean, really, and no offense to the Japanese. I don't care if no Italians are around in 1,000 years. Are we going to even have a planet left in 50 years, let alone 1,000? We got to worry about. It's frustrating because we've seen it. The numbers are there. The temperature is rising on this planet, and we have to take care of it now. This is not a 5 years from now thing. This is a now thing. So I get frustrated at things like this article that say they're saying like in 50 years there will be more Nigerians than Chinese or Indians possibly. Who cares? It sounded really racist. It actually said that in the article. I was like, that sounds really, really bad. Why are you worried about having more Africans than Asians or more whites than blacks or more anything than anyone else? Why do we give a shit? All we need to worry about is our human race. And like stupid shit about nationality and all that cultural bullshit, it doesn't matter. What matters is we take care of ourselves and get along and try to have decent lives while we're on this planet. I wanted to start with a quote, though. I did want to read. I'm not going to read too much, but I do need to fill 5 more minutes. The opening quote really kind of annoyed me. All over the world, countries are confronting population stagnation and a fertility bust, a dizzying reversal unmatched in recorded history that will make first birthday parties a rarer sight than funerals, and empty homes a common eyesore. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about a common eyesore? Hey, got an empty home? I have an idea. Put a fucking homeless person in it. Put a bunch of homeless people in there. There's problem solved. That was easy. They're talking about in Germany how apparently they're having a birth crisis. I'm going to call it. Not a crisis to me. Less people, the better. You know how I feel about this. It's been pretty obvious for the last 6 minutes. In Germany, they're like having to raise houses because there aren't enough people to buy them and fill them out or fill them up, and so it's one of the quotes in there's like they're having to raise houses and put up parks. Perish the thought. Parks? Oh, anything but parks in my fucking neighborhood. I'd much rather have just a sea of infinite houses that I got to look at every day rather than have a park that I can take my dog or my kid or my non-kid, I guess, if you follow the logic of this article. But I found it very annoying. So what am I going to say in my last 3.5 minutes? I don't know. How about let's not freak out? How about let's look at some real numbers? Because all the numbers they were throwing at us were just trying to freak us out. They never talked about an actual population decline, which if we stagnate population-wise, I'd say no time like the present. Where, like I said, we're approaching 8 billion people. Most of the articles I've read, the scientific articles, say this planet is going to be maxed out at 12 billion. I think I said million a second ago. I meant 8 billion, of course. 12 billion, which would be, I think, another 50 years away, which isn't very far, would max out this planet. The planet would fucking be done. It would be overpolluted. It would not have enough resources to support us. Especially, I mean, forget about oil and the economy, fucking food. There's not enough fresh water. By the way, a little sidebar here. I like the whole freshwater freak out. By the way, I'm not a fan of Nestle or bottled water in general. I don't like people profiting off of bottled water, or something that most bottled water gets sent to or is sold to first world people. It's like, go use a tap or get a filter on a tap. But I don't carry bottled water. People look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, I don't need it. I think Jerry Seinfeld said best when, of all the senses I have, when I, you know what I do when I know when to get a drink. I don't need to carry a bottle of water with me. I get thirsty and I find some water because I live in America and I can find water really easily. So like Nestle is tapping aquifers all over the planet, soaking, just drying up these aquifers that are very important to indigenous peoples all over this planet, and then selling the fucking water in plastic, by the way, which is obviously a petroleum product and not good for the planet. It's horrific and it's disgusting. It should be stopped. But however, going back to what I originally wanted to say about fresh water, we're covered in fresh water, right? 70% of the planet is oceans, and maybe a little less than that, but lakes, oceans. But 70% of this planet is covered in water, and most of it, I think 97% of it, is salt water. How about we just filter? Are you telling me that we can't create a filter to make salt water fresh water? Are you kidding me right now? Especially if the planet is warming up. It is, and huge. Oh, by the way, I think I mentioned this a few. I'm not going to call them specials. There's nothing special about what I'm doing, but a few videos ago, the biggest iceberg ever, since we've been keeping track of this shit, fell into the ocean off of Antarctica. It was between the size of Delaware and Rhode Island. It was a huge chunk. So if we're really worried about coastal cities, of which there are many on this planet, flooding, wouldn't that be a good way to maybe help the flooding, is using the ocean as a water resource for humans and animals and drinking water and agriculture? Wouldn't that be great? Here's my argument. If you can do dialysis for a kidney patient, if you can filter someone's blood and make unhealthy blood, healthy blood, you can certainly get the salt out of salt water. I'd like to think we'd have that technology. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. But for those of you that are not having children, don't let anyone guilt you into having children. We have plenty already. We're not going to run out of humans by the time we die, all right? That's enough time from me. See you guys next time. feel like arguing, put some comments down below. See you soon.